And I'm also pretty sure it's going to go black and white. Maybe a bit of atmosphere that black and white, and it almost looks like mist or fog. It's not. Getting an interesting effect right now. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again. It's been a really hectic couple of weeks, to be honest, and the next couple of weeks are also pretty hectic. In fact, I spent most of last week in England, actually visiting with friends and family. Very nice. No photography. In fact, I didn't even take the camera with me. I was travelling light. And today is Monday. It's the 10th of December. It's the first time I've had a chance to get out to do some exploring and photography since I got back. As you can see, it's pretty warm. I started out with a fleece on because I thought it was going to be colder, but it's actually pretty warm up here. I'm on Cabezón del Oro mountain. Last time I was here was 6 weeks ago and it was blowing a gale. In fact, I almost got blown off of the hillside while I was here. But it did make for some interesting conditions and some interesting shots. Today, as usual, I checked a variety of weather forecasting websites and apps to try and see what the sky was going to be like, to try and see what type of cloud we were going to get, whether we were going to have high cloud, low cloud, medium cloud, what the direction of the cloud was going to be. But as usual, I got lots and lots of conflicting information about what the actual conditions were going to be like. So you just come out and go for it anyway. I've been up here now for, I don't know, about 40 minutes or so, just having a bit of a stroll along, checking out a few potential compositions that might work depending upon what the conditions do as we get closer to sunset. And sunset is in an hour and a half. Although if I want light on the actual landscape here, I'm probably going to have to be ready in about an hour's time, maybe even a bit earlier. So I need to sort of push on and do a bit more exploring. And we'll see what we find. Let's get going. Okay, so I've come across a scene that I think is worth taking a shot of now. It's still a bit early. We're about an hour and 15 minutes before sunset. And this is a scene which is using a direction of light that I don't use a lot, and that's front lighting. So I've got the camera set up here. The scene is over that way, and the sun is over that way. So it's going to be coming over my shoulder and front lighting the scene in front of me. It might work. It's worth a try, and it probably needs to be done fairly soon because otherwise the contrasts that I'm seeing on the scene at the moment will disappear once the sun gets a bit lower, and then I don't think the scene will work at all. So let me talk you through the composition and the setup, and then we'll get the shot. So I've got this trail kind of running up into the scene. Over on the right hand side of the trail is this bush which has got some quite nice yellow and orange leaves on it. Not massively colourful, but it's quite nice. And then up in the background we've got a ridge line coming in from the left hand side of the frame, which is in shadow. And then we've got another ridge line or part of the mountain on the right hand side of the frame, which is in full light. So it's creating some quite nice contrasts. We got mostly blue sky, just a little bit of wispy cloud. As I said, it might work. Okay, I've got the 16 to 35 lens on at about 24mm. No filters, don't need them. The scene isn't contrasty enough that it's going to cause a problem. Don't need a polarizer. Pretty much useless with the sun directly behind me anyway. F11, 1/50th of a second. ISO 64, 2-second timer. It might work. There's a big shadow coming across the scene, and I don't know if that adds to the image or ruins it. And I won't know, I think, until I see it on the big screen. But we shall see. Okay, so I've set up for a shot here, which I'm still not sure about. Kind of in the foreground of the scene, there's a slope that runs down from left to right, and then there's a tree perched on that slope, and that's all pretty much in shadow. Beyond that, it's really brightly lit, and there's kind of layers of hills and mountains, but it's all in haze. I'm shooting f11, 1/200th of a second. I'm pretty sure this is going to end up being cropped a little bit anyway, because there's a bit of sky in there that I don't think works. And I'm also pretty sure it's going to go black and white. Now this is a composition I might come back to when the sun gets a bit lower and he's just about to drop below the horizon. I don't know, we'll have to see. But I've got that shot and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so for my second shot here, I'm still at 200mm, 70 to 200 lens. I've flipped the camera over into a portrait orientation, and if you can see this kind of rocky outcrop just here, on the side of that there's a couple of little tiny trees sticking out, and then there's some grasses and some quite nice rock patterns in there as well. So I've set the composition up basically with that running down the frame top to bottom, basically about halfway across the frame. And then the right hand side of the frame is basically open space, but you can probably just make out there's some hills, and then it actually goes all the way across to the coastline over there, to basically to Alicante. So that might work as well. So I'm going to shoot this at f11, focused on the edge of the rock, 1/80th of a second at ISO 64, and according to the histogram that should give me a good exposure. Yeah, it's interesting. At the moment the colours are horrible, but it might make for a nice black and white. We'll have to see what happens as the sun gets lower. We've got about 30 minutes until official sunset, probably about 15-20 minutes until the sun disappears behind the mountains. So we could get some decent colours. We'll see. So I grabbed a couple of shots. There's one more composition from here that I think might work, but I can't shoot that until the sun gets a lot lower in the sky, possibly even when it's sort of just touching the edge of the distant mountain, just about to disappear. And the compositions that I have taken, I'm going to look at them again. I decided to shoot them a bit earlier because it could be that that was the best of the light, but it could also be that when the sun gets lower the light will be better, and then I can actually set them up again fairly easily and take them again, and then I can see which one looks the best. It may be that as the sun gets lower we get some nicer colours, because the colours in the ones that I've shot don't look very nice at all. Hence the reason why if I use those they will almost certainly go black and white. And I think they might actually make an interesting black and white. They've got sort of the right kind of contrasts and maybe a bit of atmosphere that they've got the right kind of contrast and atmosphere that black and white might well work. Black and white might work as well, but I don't know. I'm going to stop saying black and white now because I keep tripping over my own tongue. So when I'm waiting for the sun to get a bit lower over in that direction, I noticed over here there's a rock with some grass on that's catching the light quite nicely. So I've set up to do a shot, landscape format, horizontal format, about 130 millimeters, f11, 1/15 of a second, and I'm going to shoot one focused on the rock, one focused on the mid-ground, one focused on the background, and focus stack them. Okay, sun's just dipping down now. I've got about 105 mil, 3-stop hard-edged ND grad. There's actually some haze sitting across the sort of the hills in the background. It almost looks like mist or fog. It's not. Getting an interesting effect right now. We've got a lot of bright tones up in the sky where the sun is behind some cloud, but it's actually poking out through a gap in the clouds as well. It's kind of almost like a double sunset. f11, quarter of a second, still at about 105 mil. That might be quite a nice image. That kind of haze that's sitting out over the mid-ground looks quite nice. I say it almost looks like cloud or mist or fog. Okay, so it's 30 minutes now after sunset. We did actually get some quite nice colours and light in the sky, so I'm hoping I managed to do some justice to that. Right now the colours are fading, and so am I. I think it's time to head for home and see what I've got. I thought I'd just let you know, kind of planning ahead, my next video I'm hoping is going to be a dawn shoot somewhere on the coast. Not 100% sure where yet, but I'm hoping that's what it's going to be. And then the one after that, I'm hoping I'm going to be going to a completely new location, somewhere I've never been to before. Take you along and we'll see what we can find and see what we can get. Of course, those plans are subject to change depending upon what happens with the weather and life in general. But don't forget to tune in and see what happens. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Just as a quick reminder, the subscribe button will be coming up at the end of the video. If you haven't already hit it, now would be a great time. And of course, likes and shares are always appreciated. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think about the video, the images, whatever you like. Comments down below, I always respond. And as always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. And until the next one, thank you very much. Bye.